oriented and instructed. These four over the Atlantic Ocean arriving very large groups, not only were for Western Eurasia genetically unedited, but also genetically extremely different. These four groups would arrive from crossing the Atlantic Ocean and go to four very distinct places in Western Eurasia. Or they had traveled together, which is near impossible, or they were excellent and precise navigators on sea and on land, organizers and survivors. Obviously they had been briefed before, this at least about the navigation, but probably also and how and through what rivers and passes they would move to these places. These places they went to were no easy places, and not at all close to the coasts and facades. Before we already argued and proved they were out of Americans. In fact, these arrive out of the Americas and through the Atlantic Ocean, because they are related to Neolithic R1a and R1b at arrival, and their Prehistoric Root R1, M173, also lies in the Americas. This is confirmed by fossils of prehistoric Native Americans, and also because of the essential ancestral markers that proved so in the first place and before. Hiding out before attack. It looks like they were gathering, while also kind of hiding out in their less resource-rich, colder, more desert-like or more mountainous places and destinations, clearly avoiding the best and most populated places to land and to gather. Two of these four groups are defined as foragers or hunter-gatherers, and were stationed in the north. The one to the east, which includes and involves the Ural Mountains and steppes, we will call Hunter R1a. Two of these four groups are defined as farmers, and were stationed more in the south, close to their furniture adversaries, at least of the later arriving or at least still building up R1a and R1b, the cultures that would form the later typical Bronze Age cultures in the Fertile Crescent, that would become victim of the groups of the north, that will be part of what will be called the Sea People and possibly, and also probably, still and through the Atlantic Ocean arriving American newcomers, that also will become parts of the later so-called Indo-European-speaking Sea People. We hypothesize that the hunters related to R1b and hunters related to R1a came through the North Atlantic Current and Ocean, and while they have different DNA and haplogroups, resemble each other more in lifestyle when compared to the farmers in the south. The hunters related to R1b and hunters related to R1a will spread, or rather the later R1a and R1b, the later the Indo-European languages, that originated north of the Caucasus, and or from the above described steppes. We hypothesize that the Iran farmers related to R1a possibly came through the Austronesian expansion, of which the Pacific Current and Ocean is part of, and would settle close to those that will become the Sumerians, and already occupied Mesopotamia with the Tigris and Euphrates River, and that the Levant farmers related to R1b dominantly came through the Atlantic Current, and settled close to the Levant, and possibly Malta and Cyprus. Levant people, not primarily Indo-Europeans, and Hittites. Possibly Indo-Europeans or later Indo-Europeans, possibly both had links with Cyprus, which was known as Alashia in Hittite texts. The Hittites at some point came into conflict with Cyprus. Possibly because and after it was overtaken by the newcomers and or primarily Indo-Europeans, and claimed it. Possibly back, and engaged in military campaigns, that were known as the Battles of Alashia, where the Hittites were victorious. Despite these initial victories, the Hittites would later be affected by the Bronze Age collapse and suffer demise, somehow like Egypt. The Bronze Age cultures, Mesopotamia etc., now encircled by the Iran farmers related to R1a, as well as the Levant farmers related to R1b, maintained their non-Indo-European languages and their Mesopotamia cuneiform writing system, which were linked to the non-Indo-European languages. The Mesopotamia cuneiform writing system would get lost during the late Bronze Age collapse, and apparently would be replaced by the Phoenician writing system, that was linked to the more victorious and Indo-European languages, that now would freely thrive. Mesopotamia cuneiform was replaced with the Phoenician alphabet. The cuneiform earliest known use dates to about 3000 BP. Phoenician writing system contained 22 letters that represented sounds as compared to over 700 symbols in cuneiform.